So here's the thing. Some movies make money. Some movies break even. Some movies lose money. And then there are legends. Movies that don't just bomb, but bomb so hard, they're put in the history books. These are the movies that end careers, bankrupt studios, and in their own way, alter the course of Hollywood itself. These are the movies that can be found at the bottom of the barrel. Let's talk about Marvel. I know it's not the right shirt, you idiots. This is literally the only superhero thing I could find anywhere near me. I don't live in a fucking city, alright? I have to go with what Walmart has. This is what I had to work with. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been a staple of American culture for damn near 20 years at this point. Ever since 2008's Iron Man, Disney and Marvel have been working together to bring people on grand adventures with iconic characters, all set within the same universe. You all know what the fuck the Marvel Cinematic Universe is at this point. I'm just saying this for posterity's sake. And I haven't watched any of them. Now hold on there before you start yelling at me. I'm not saying this to be a contrarian. I'm not sticking my nose up to all you comic book nerds. I just kinda never was really that big into comic books to begin with. Now this isn't to say I've never had an interest in superheroes before. I absolutely have. I just never really went to the theaters growing up as a kid. By the time I was in college and both willing and able to go to the movie theaters again, we were already at Endgame, and I just didn't feel like going back to rewatch everything just to watch one movie. The whole idea just didn't really feel right to me. Now this isn't to say I don't appreciate the MCU, I absolutely do. I love that we can have movies where it's a Spider-Man film and then, oh hey, here's Doctor Strange, he's just here now. I like that. It's just, to me, I don't feel like going through all of the effort to catch up. As an outsider looking in, I'm happy for the people that enjoy it. And hey, it's good for them because the MCU is still going strong to this day. Well, maybe strong isn't the right word to use. It's no secret that most people are fucking sick of the MCU at this point. The MCU has effectively become a circus at this point. Roll up, come one, come all. Watch as the multi-billion-dollar institution crumbles before your very eyes. I mean, just looking at the numbers, it's clear that people just aren't going to these movies as often as they used to. Where, oh where did it all go wrong? Captain Marvel went wrong with Captain Marvel. That's where it went wrong. Now, it's not like every Marvel film set the world on fire before then. I remember the first couple Thor films were considered pretty mid, and there were mixed reviews for Black Panther, but Captain Marvel was the first one where, at least from my perspective, things started to shift a little. It was still successful, but it was the first sign of trouble. Of course, then Endgame came out, and I don't even need to fucking talk about that, followed by Spider-Man Far From Home. Both really successful films. Alright, Marvel, what's next? Oh. After Black Widow came and left like a fart in the wind, we got Jackie Chan and the Secret Rings, wherever the fuck that movie was called, followed by The Eternals, which, woof. But don't worry, shareholders, we got Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man coming back in Spider-Man No Way Home, and to be fair, it's the only Marvel film I've seen, and I actually kinda liked it, so yeah, I guess that worked. Good for you. After that, we got Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Only one of those ended up actually doing alright, the rest were complete failures. Hell, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania was the lowest grossing Marvel film for about 9 months. Disney was starting to shake in its boots a little bit here. If they can't start bringing in Endgame money soon, things are gonna look bad. Now actually this does kind of raise an interesting hypothetical. Let's say, hypothetically, and I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but let's say that every Disney Marvel film going forward is just a complete failure. No one goes to watch them, no profit is made at all, they're just complete, absolute failures forever going forward. How long do you think it would take Disney to stop doing them? Like, I genuinely think it would take probably over a decade before Disney finally decides to just call it a wash. Somewhere in an office deep in LA, Kevin Feige sat in contemplation. He knew he needed to get Marvel back on track, and he knew exactly what they needed to do. Let's make a sequel to Captain Marvel! We begin in the far reaches of space. A character named Darbin, yes, really Darbin, is digging around and finds a statue, and after breaking it open, finds a bracelet. Now, this is more than just a fashion statement. It allows her to create what I think are wormholes. They really don't do a good job of explaining themselves in this movie. Believe me, you're gonna see more of that in a second. Suddenly cut to Jersey City, my old stomping grounds, on the one day I think I ever went to Jersey City. Here we meet Kamala Khan, a teenage superhero who enjoys drawing and is the only Captain Marvel fan in a 40-mile radius. Alright, it's closer to 30. But fuck all that shit, we gotta go back into space. Captain Marvel's messing around with a cat. She's also kind of a deadbeat. Sort of. Apparently she had a friendship with this little girl who was like Nick Fury's niece. I'm not entirely sure on that. I purposely didn't do any research for this video just to make it more complicated for me. Look, point is, she's off doing space adventures, but this poor adult woman who she knew when she was a little girl is so fucking upset about that because she promised she'd be back someday. Wow, bitch, I don't really care. Look, all I'm saying is if I knew someone when I was like 8 who went off to explore the galaxy and save countless planets, I wouldn't really care if they didn't see me again for a while. Well, we don't have time to worry about that because the hyperspace portal tubes aren't working. And so Monica, her name is Monica by the way, Monica has to go out in a spacesuit to check it out. Also, she has superpowers. Yeah, they just kind of drop it on us. Was this something that was previously established? I don't know. Maybe. Just then, all of the 3 women touched a space anomaly at the same time. Captain Marvel, Monica, and
Kamala Khan.
And suddenly, they all change places! Captain Marvel's in the bedroom of a little girl, like every other Hollywood actor, and is looking around like, oh, this place is pretty weird. And Kamala is swinging around in space. Cutting a long story short, these 2 women and 1 child are now linked to one another. If 2 or all 3 of them use their cool laser powers at the same time, they swap places with one another. And oh no! Darbran's off sucking the atmosphere out of planets like we're in fucking Spaceballs or some shit. And so these 3 have to learn to work together with this new power in order to save the day. Meanwhile, Captain Marvel's cat gives birth to like 100 cat eggs because it's not really a cat, it's an alien that just kind of looks like cat. Cat. Hey, so let's talk about some characters. First things first, I'm gonna be really nice again to a little girl. 2 videos in a row without me bullying children. Wow, what a new record. The actress who plays Kamala Khan does a dang fine job at it. Her only real problem is her writing, especially at the very start of the movie. It's very, Look, I can barely handle my own autism, let alone both of ours, so can you please shut the fuck up? I wish I could say the same for the rest of the actors in the movie. Wish. To be fair, most of the actors do a fine enough job with what they're given, it just doesn't help that what they're given isn't very good. Captain Marvel is a bitch. That's not me being mean, that's literally her character. She's very cold, distant, she's got a bit of a stick up her ass. That's her character. Sometimes, at least. Sometimes she's not. You know, sometimes she's written like a lone wolf. Oh, I don't want this kid on my spaceship. But then other times, they're just sitting around laughing along trying to think up a name for Monica as a superhero. Doesn't seem like it comes from a natural place of growth, it just kinda happens. Monica, as I have previously lampshaded, is kind of annoying. Her entire character throughout the whole movie is just being annoyed at Captain Marvel for not keeping the promise she made to her when she was like 8 years old. I cannot stress, that is her entire defining character. She is just mad at Captain Marvel. That's it. I feel actually really bad for the character of Kamala Khan. From what I heard, she seems like she's a fine character in the comics. Her whole shtick is that she is a superhero fangirl who got superpowers and now decides to moonlight as a superhero. I could see that being interesting. I could see a couple of good stories coming out of that. Like maybe she has to learn a harsh lesson. She thinks it's going to be all fun and punching bad guys, and oh, she has to make a tough call and it kind of shakes her a little bit. Or maybe the heroes don't really trust or respect her because she's so young and inexperienced and they don't really want to consider her a real superhero. So she has to go out and prove herself to them. The point is, as a writer, I think her character has potential. potential which may not be seen for quite some time. Kamala Khan has got to be one of the worst introductions to the general public a comic book character has gotten in quite some time. Her first appearance outside of comics, to my knowledge at least, was with the Marvel Avengers game that no one liked, followed by this movie, which no one saw. Sorry, Kamala, back into the dustbin of irrelevancy you go. And then there's Darbin, a character I think I'm supposed to be sympathetic towards. Alright, first things first, this just kinda got me annoyed. This is supposed to be an alien? I'm not asking for scientifically accurate aliens, those wouldn't look anything like us, but like, fuck man, could you at least paint her skin green or something? Or at least do what Star Trek does, put a couple bumps on her forehead, give us something, anything. And it's worse because they got these things in the movie, they're called the Skrull. Look at these fucking guys, that's an alien design. Alright, so her whole story is that back like 30 or 20 years ago, Captain Marvel came to her planet and did something to this big computer that ran everything, and that just fucked everything up. A whole Captain America civil war broke out in her planet, rendering it nearly inhospitable. The atmosphere is unbreathable. The oceans have dried up. Some dumbass blew up the fucking sun! I know that this is supposed to be a big World War III type situation, where the whole planet was destroyed, that I get. Which one of you idiots launched a missile at the sun? You're a strongman, you're complaining about things that don't really matter. Bitch, this is the character's entire motivation. Of course it matters. Who blew up your sun? Her whole fucking plan in this movie is to suck the atmosphere, ocean, and sun from different planets to give her planet life again. And the worst thing is they try to almost make you sympathize with her. Look, I get it. Not every villain nowadays needs to be a mustache-twirling villain. Sometimes you want characters with depth. I approve of that. You are doing the plot to Spaceballs 3 times over. Have that bitch twirl a mustache. Outside of those 4 principal characters, everyone else in the film is largely inconsequential. Nick Fury is there. Kamal's parents are there. The crew of the space station are also there. Side note, I didn't know Earth had space travel in Marvel yet, so imagine my fucking shock when we just cut to the Watchtower up in space. I like the plot characters miscellaneous ending conclusion thing. We're gonna do that again. We're going to miscellaneous now. The whole film seems to have a very loose theme of second chances, kinda. Captain Marvel, who failed a little girl in the past, now has a new little girl to form a similar relationship with. Meanwhile, the villain wants to give her planet a second chance at life. Monica and Kamala under this would just be physical manifestations of the theme itself, and yeah, that's about it. That theme would also tie into Captain Marvel's arc throughout the film, and I use the term arc loosely, but at the start of the film, she doesn't like Kamala. At the end of the film, they're all buddy-buddy. Outside of that, though, static characters galore. Alright, real quick. Every character you write falls into one of 2 categories, a static character or a dynamic character. A static character is someone who remains the same throughout the entirety of the story. They don't really go through an arc, they don't really go anywhere, they are the same at the start as at the end. A dynamic character is someone who does change throughout the story. This could be a physical change, a mental change, an emotional change, any sort of change at all that is a dynamic character. Typically, you want your dynamic characters to be your main characters, and your static characters to be these sort of side characters or just one-off people you meet before you go on to the next chapter. Now, this isn't to say that you can't write a story where the main character is static. It's just harder for you to get engaged in a story where nothing really changes. Outside of Captain Marvel, every fucking character in this movie is static. Near the end, there's a scene where Monica hugs Captain Marvel and kind of forgives her. I was only half paying attention because Rascal knocked something off the counter and had to look away and see what the hell he was doing, and I didn't feel like rewinding to see what I missed because I didn't care. Oh my god, Strongman, you're being so lazy. Who gives a shit? The arc wasn't built up at all throughout the entirety of the movie, and it kinda came out of nowhere. That's not good, regardless of whether or not I knew exactly what she was saying. Still, despite my criticisms and my very laissez-faire behavior throughout this entire video, I wasn't hating the movie for the most part. I was just sitting there with my eyes half glazed over throughout the entire thing. watching mindlessly as this movie was mildly entertaining, with decent direction, some okay action scenes, and absolutely horrible special effects. I am not going to go on a whole fucking tangent about that, just know they did not look good. Then we reached two very special scenes. Alright, I'm gonna coin a term right now. I don't know if it exists already or if there's another term to describe what I'm about to say, but I'm using it right now. Corporate quirky. Basically, when a bunch of suits decide they want to trick people into thinking they still have a soul. So, let's do something fun. Within reason. The first one of these happens about halfway through the film. Basically, Captain Marvel is like, hey, this lady's looking for an ocean. I know a planet with an ocean. Let's go there. Basically, her thought process is, hey, this planet is 95% ocean. Surely she'd go there. Well, anyways, by pure coincidence, it turns out Captain Marvel is fucking the prince of this planet and is their princess. Cool. That's not the reason why I'm talking about this. The whole reason I'm bringing this up is because as soon as they land, everyone on the planet breaks out into a choreographed song and dance number. Something about this scene, man, I don't know what it was, but I just stood up from my desk and walked away. Now, I already wasn't feeling it when, like, the Marvels were walking through and just like, oh, wow, look at these weird aliens that sing a lot. Ooh, oh, that guy looks stupid. When they get to, like, the prince's palace, a fucking sparkle wipe happens and Captain Marvel's suit just becomes a dress. What? They never explain that. That's just the thing that happens, and that's like, are we in a cartoon now? I'd be fine with it if up to that point the film had been following this sort of wacky cartoon logic, but prior to that we were following the logic of our reality, so it just kind of came out of nowhere. Are you a wacky comedy or a somewhat serious superhero film? Pick a fucking lane. Oh, but that fails in comparison for corporate quirky scene number 2. See, remember earlier when I said that throughout the film Captain Marvel's cat is just laying eggs because she's not really a cat, she's an alien? Well, that starts fucking with the space station. Well, it's that and also all of the wormholes that Darwin is making to suck all of the stuff away from these planets. And so near the end of the film, these astronauts come up to Nick Fury and they're like, oh my god, Nick Fury, we only have one escape pod left and we've got like 200 people on the ship. What are we gonna do? And the thing about these space cats is that they have these sort of Kirby powers where they can vor entire people despite them being like kittens. And so Nick Fury says, I have a great idea. And so what happens is we get an entire scene of this whole space station of people just being swallowed up by these kittens while that one famous song from Cats plays. You know, the one that goes like, touch me, it's so easy to see me. That one? Yeah, they play that one. And again, it's like we're in a cartoon all of a sudden. It's just this complete tonal shift. I'm sorry, did the villain not just arrive on Earth to suck our sun away? What am I talking about? That's the most cartoonish thing in this entire fucking movie. Why are you acting like I can possibly take this seriously? And I'm not saying that as an inherent criticism. I like things that take stupid premises seriously. The problem is when you're trying to lampshade it with these characters who are quipping throughout the entire film like, oh, you mean we're literally going to herd cats? That's insane. Just show the cats voring people, throw them into space, and then have the lady show up to suck out the sun. It just completely derails the tone of the entire movie. There's this one scene, and it pissed me off when it happened, where literally, we see Captain Marvel fighting the lady, and she's like, I gotta go over here. And so she flies over, takes out 2 ships, looks back at her ship as it's slowly lifting up, and all I can say is, fly at her ship. You can just end it right here. Just fucking do it. Despite my jokes, this movie does mostly a fine job expositing things that I need to know. For example, near the start of the film, they have a scene where Nick Fury is talking to Kamala, and they say something along the lines of, oh, of course we know the hero of Jersey City, and that tells me, oh, this isn't Kamala's first adventure. She's not a complete no-name. She's done some minor heroing before. This is just her first big adventure. And you know, they do a decent job of it throughout the film, sprinkling in enough details so I can at least follow the story. Until we get to this lady, she really does just show up. The scene almost verbatim goes, Captain Marvel, I know someone who can help. Cut to this lady showing up She says, "Hi, Captain Marvel, I'll take these scroll away now," and then she's gone. There isn't a moment where Kamala's like, "Oh, Captain Marvel, who's that?" And Captain Marvel's like, "Oh, well, that's my friend Smorgy Glorbus. She's a fourth-dimensional entity that can transfer matter at will." We don't get anything like that. I don't know who this is. If you are aware of who this woman is or her whereabouts, please call 555 my comment section and let me know. Alright, I've rambled long enough. I'm volunteering at my church in an hour, so let's just wrap this up and talk about the ending. Darbin has already successfully siphoned the atmosphere and ocean from 2 other planets, undoubtedly causing mass global genocide. And now she's making her way to Earth. That's right, she's about to take our sun, goddammit, and for some reason the movie decides to focus on Lady Liberty for a second. See, the shirt does tie in somehow. Anyways, so yeah, after a short training montage, the girls now know how to use their teleportation powers at will, and they go off to fight her one last time. They end up winning because a bunch of debris falls on Darbin and she's like stabbed in the stomach, and they're like, "Alright, good job, everyone." But then this little twerp Kamala has to say something stupid again and goes, "No, Captain Marvel, don't let her die. Sure, she's a genocidal maniac that's destroyed 2 planets already, but we can work with her because she had good intentions." Why are we trying to sympathize with this woman? So they decide to not leave her to die. They lift the big thing off of her that's crushing her, and she immediately turns on our heroes because obviously. So like I said, Darbin has the one arm bracelet, and Kamala has the other, and so obviously she thinks if I have both, then I can make even bigger wormholes. And so she takes her big ass mallet and slams it to Kamala's face and is like, "Give me the other bracelet, or I will kill this child." Good fucking plan there, Kamala. Glad to see your kindness paid off. The harsh lesson that she learned today is that some people are just beyond saving. And yeah, sure, Captain Marvel can probably like fly at the speed of sound or something, but like, the hammer's right here. It's possible she could do something in the time it takes her to fly like 5 feet. They give her the bracelet, and she removes the hammer from Kamala's face, and there's like 5 seconds between when she actually does that and puts the bracelet on. So now there's no excuse for why Captain Marvel doesn't just fly at her and pummel her half to death. Look, even if you don't want to kill this woman, at least break her arm or like just pull it out of its socket. Not like, you know, remove the arm, just like pop it out of the bones. That way it just dangles and she can't use it. Whatever, tensions are high and this woman can't think straight, so Darbin grabs the bracelet and she's like, "Yes, now I will suck the sun dry!" And she flies off into space, which she can do, I guess, and she's like, "I'm going to do it! I'm going to do it!" And then they're like, "No, don't do it, Darbin! It's too much, you'll die!" Which, what? When did that start being a thing? But anyways, she doesn't listen. She's like, "No, I'm gonna do it! I'm gonna do it! Look, here I go! Ah!" And she's just completely disintegrated. But there is now a massive portal behind her that needs to be closed. So Captain Marvel's like, "I'll close it," and then Monica's like, "No! I have to do this. I'm a hero now." And it's like, okay. She goes through the portal on the other side, and I guess she can withstand the power, so that's good for her. And suddenly it's the ending of Kingdom Hearts, where Riku is like, "I gotta close the door from this side with Mickey, Sora, bye!" That's what happens. She closes the portal from the other side, and Captain Marvel can't save her in time. But still, the day is saved, and everyone gets to live, except for everyone who died. They have like this one scene near like the very end that annoyed me, where this astronaut just kind of walks by and he's like, "Oh yes, we were doing readings and we found that the other planets will be just fine." And to that I just say, how? We see at the end of the movie that Darbin's planet still has the ocean and atmosphere, so did it just come back on the other planets? What do you mean? And like I said, Captain Marvel and Kamala are good friends, sitting on a plane. They're like, "Oh, this is great." For some reason, Captain Marvel and Kamala's family all decide to move into like this house down in the bayou. I don't know why, they just did. But Captain Marvel does have one last space mission to do. She flies into the sun of Darbin's planet, and it just reignites. They even literally point out that doesn't make any sense, but they just do it anyways. Cool. Anyways, time for credits, bye! Except reverse that wave, baby. We all know that this isn't the end. Marvel is famous for its after credits scenes, and I decided to stick around to see what they would be. And, well, there's 2. One features Kamala Khan doing what I can only describe as a parody of the famous Samuel L. Jackson "I'm putting together a team" scene from the end of Iron Man, which teased the Avengers, where Kamala is like in someone's apartment and she's like, "I'm putting together a team too. You want to join me, person?" I don't know who this is supposed to be, by the way. If you are aware of who this woman is or her whereabouts, please call 555. And then a little bit later, Monica wakes up. She's alive. She's on some other planet. And oh my god, it's her mom. What? She's just like, "I'm not your mom. Who are you talking about? I don't know who you are." And Monica looks over, and fucking Beast from the X-Men just walks up. Well, at least I know who that is. Now, I am actually glad that I stuck around to see those scenes because it was very, very funny watching them plant seeds that I know would never grow. We did it, boys! We made it! Marvel is saved! Oh, fuck! Wow, who would have guessed in a video series about movies that don't do well, the movie didn't do well. This film completely blasted the record set by Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and quickly became Marvel's worst performing film, losing them over $240 million. And to date, that is technically the largest box office loss of all time. I say technically because if we adjust for inflation, that title goes to John Carter of Mars, but we're not talking about that in this video. That's a topic for another time. So yeah, that's a pretty bad look on Marvel's end. Whatever plans they had for the X-Men and Kamala Khan's little mission, I have to assume, were just completely thrown out because on a cursory glance, it doesn't look like either of those are still around in the MCU. This movie performed so poorly that Disney CEO Bob Iger had to make a statement on it where he huffed an ass-load of copium and said that it didn't perform well due to COVID, which doesn't make any sense because the movie came out in 2023. Now sure, maybe I'm talking out my ass and Kamala Khan's gonna show up in Avengers Doomsday and save the day at the end. I don't know, but I doubt it. All things considered, however, the fallout from this bomb wasn't really all that big. There are films that have much smaller losses that have much more tragic endings. Marvel is still around, the MCU is still happening, no one really went bankrupt, and I have to assume at least most of these people are still acting. So what's the moral from all of this? If you're working with Disney, it's literally impossible to fail. I'm Sir Strongman, and that was the thing. By the way, my cat's way cuter than yours, Captain Marvel. Suck my dick. Love you.